Welcome to another episode of Hale Explains. Tonight, we answer the question, is teleportation possible? Imagine stepping into a machine in London, pressing a button, and appearing instantly in New York. No planes, no travel, no time lost. Teleportation has been a staple of science fiction for decades, from the transporters in Star Trek to futuristic visions of instant travel across the galaxy. But here's the real question. Is teleportation purely fiction, or could it actually be possible one day? Surprisingly, scientists have already managed something called quantum teleportation. But before we get too excited, there is a catch, a very big one. To teleport something, you would need to do something extraordinary. You would need to take an object, say a human being, and scan every single atom in their body. A human body contains roughly 7 octillion atoms. That is a 7 followed by 27 zeros. Not only would you need to record the position of every atom, you would also need to capture the exact quantum state of every particle. Then that information would have to be transmitted somewhere else. And finally, the object would need to be perfectly reconstructed atom by atom at the destination. At first glance, that might sound like a gigantic engineering problem. But physics suggests the challenge is even deeper than that. One of the biggest obstacles to teleportation is information. The amount of data required to describe the exact state of a human body is almost unimaginably large. Some physicists estimate it could require more data than the entire internet currently stores. And there is another problem. According to a principle in quantum mechanics known as the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, it is impossible to measure every property of a particle perfectly at the same time. In other words, the universe may simply prevent us from gathering all the information needed to recreate a person exactly. But this is where things start to get interesting. Because while teleporting people may be impossible right now, scientists have already succeeded in teleporting something much smaller. In laboratories around the world, scientists have already demonstrated something called quantum teleportation. This doesn't mean objects vanish and reappear like in science fiction, at least not yet. Instead, what gets transferred is information about a particle, not the particle itself. Think of it like this. Imagine you had 2 identical dials, one in London and one in New York. Each dial can spin to different positions. If the dials were mysteriously linked, turning the dial in London would instantly cause the dial in New York to move in exactly the same way. That's similar to what scientists have managed to achieve with a process they have named quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement is where 2 particles become connected so that what happens to one instantly affects the other, no matter how far apart they are. Scientists can use that connection to transfer information about a particle's state from one place to another, effectively teleporting the information itself. And scientists are deliberately able to create these connected particles. How incredible! Experiments have already teleported quantum information across hundreds of kilometers and even between Earth and satellites in orbit. However, this is not teleportation in the science fiction sense. No object disappears and reappears somewhere else. Only information is transferred. Humans, however, pose a problem. Teleporting a human would require scanning and transmitting information about trillions upon trillions of particles. Even if it were possible to collect that information, another disturbing question appears. Would the original person need to be destroyed during the scanning process? Some interpretations of teleportation suggest that the machine would effectively disassemble a person atom by atom, then reconstruct an identical copy somewhere else. That raises a philosophical dilemma. Is the person who appears at the destination truly the same individual, or merely a perfect copy? In other words, teleportation might not just be a technological challenge, it might also be a question about identity itself. So, could it ever happen? With our current understanding of physics, teleporting humans appears far beyond anything we could realistically achieve. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical, and the information problem may make it fundamentally impossible. However, science has a long history of turning impossible ideas into real technologies. Flight, space travel, and global communication once seemed equally unrealistic. So while teleportation remains firmly in the realm of science fiction for now, the experiments in quantum teleportation suggest that the universe may allow stranger things than we once imagined. Teleportation may never look exactly like the instant travel we see in movies, but the deeper question is fascinating. If the universe already allows information itself to be teleported, what other possibilities might physics still be hiding? And perhaps the real mystery is not whether teleportation will happen, but what we might discover while trying. This has been Hale Explains. Exploring the world, one question at a time. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more curious content.